this time, I'd like to call the court to order. Let's see, we might have a little feedback there. See if that works. I'm going to call the court to order. I'd like to ask everyone to turn their phones on silent or turn them off. We don't have a very long agenda, and there are basketball games going on next door tonight, and I'm sure some of our crowd here tonight would like to attend. So with that being said, I'd like to ask Commissioner Brian Booth if he would say the invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, as we come before you this evening, Lord, Lord, bless everyone that's here. Bless this court, dear Heavenly Father. Lord, everything that we do here tonight, dear Heavenly Father, will be for the betterment of this county, dear Heavenly Father. And Lord, bless our country and our nation, dear Heavenly Father. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. The next item that we need to address is we have a temporary clerk here tonight. We have Miss Jeannie Robinson that will be serving as clerk. Lisa is not here. I'm not sure that Jeannie wanted to do it, but she was designated to do it. So
I didn't volunteer.
So is there a motion to approve Miss Jeannie Robinson as temporary clerk?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tackett. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robertson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett,
Yes.
Commissioner Booth,
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes. And Madam Clerk, would you call the roll for us?
Judge Jones,
Present.
Commissioner Robertson,
Here.
Commissioner Tackett,
Here.
Commissioner Booth.
Here.
Yes. We might need to turn down the system. We're getting a little bit of a feedback on it. So we have a roll call and we're ready to proceed. And I'd like to ask Mr. Duke Chapman if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you do that for us, Duke? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. First item I'm going to address on the agenda is a first reading of a proposed ordinance prohibiting tree removal companies from depositing and or leaving debris, mud, and foreign objects or materials on county roads without prior approval from the Pike County Road Supervisor. This is the issue that we talked about. We do have Mr. Bob Shurtleff here. Bob has worked with us from the AEP perspective. We appreciate the help on that. Bob, is there anything you'd like to address on this, or just a? Well, I should say then we have City Commissioner Bob Shurtleff here. Welcome, Bob. Roy, would you like to present this for us and give us a first reading? Mr. Chapman was kind enough to come and tell us his problem. This is a countywide problem, and it's not just professional companies that are doing it. A lot of folks are doing it. And the problem is it ends up in drains. It ends up causing a lot of problems, particularly private property owners or even county roads being damaged. So we think that this is a very reasonable first step toward addressing this. So Roy, if you would, please just give us a summary and present the first reading.
Judge, just because there are some people in the audience, I guess, that are a little bit curious as to, I will do what's called a first reading. The court will tell me what they think about it. Then we will come back in 2 weeks, hopefully, and do a final reading. If this gets passed, what the intent is that we will notify, and we have a list of all the companies that do business here in Pike County that are legally registered to do business. We'll start by notifying these companies that, hey, here's the ordinance, if you've got issues, here's where you need to go. So we're going to take the approach that we will work with these companies, but we will put them on notice once it's been signed, and if they want to comment, they can come in 2 weeks and comment, I guess. An ordinance of the Fiscal Court of Pike County, Kentucky, prohibiting tree removal companies from depositing and/or leaving debris, mud, and foreign objects or materials on any road. Tree removal companies are required to get approved disposal sites from the Pike County Road Commissioner to dump their waste or byproducts. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Pike County, Commonwealth of Kentucky is concerned about the public safety of its citizens while using their county roads, and whereas the depositing or leaving of debris, mud, and foreign objects or materials on a county road constitutes a safety hazard, and whereas the deposit of or leaving of debris, mud, and foreign objects or materials on a county road creates a public nuisance. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of the County of Pike, Commonwealth of Kentucky, Section 1, it shall be unlawful for the owner or employee of a tree removal company to deposit or otherwise leave any debris, mud, foreign objects, and/or materials on any road. Section 2, it shall be unlawful for the owner or employee of a tree removal company to dump or dispose of waste or byproducts at any site not approved by the Pike County Road Supervisor. Section 3, upon a finding by the Pike County Fiscal Court after notice in a public hearing, the court may issue a fine of $1,000 for the first violation. For a second violation, the Fiscal Court may issue a fine of $5,000. For a third violation, the Fiscal Court may issue a fine of $10,000 and prohibit the company from operating in Pike County. In addition to the fine, the Fiscal Court may require the tree company to pay for any cleanup costs or other cost of abatement. That would be the first reading, Judge.
Do the commissioners have any questions about the ordinance or any proposed changes or would like to discuss it in any way? Anyone else?
It's long past due.
Colonel, we appreciate your hard work on that, and hopefully we'll get that passed, Duke. We have to have 2 readings. I think it has to be 2 weeks apart. So at the next court meeting, we'll vote on it, and it will become a county ordinance. And then we will notify all the tree companies. We'll go through our occupational tax office and get a list of those companies that are licensed to do business, and we'll send them a letter saying that with a copy of this ordinance, and then we'll take it from there. Yeah, any other problems, you let us know, okay, Duke? Appreciate you coming. All right. Greg, you anything from the bid office tonight? All right, we'll go ahead and pass over that one just to try to clean some of this up. Mr. Little, before we get into one of the bigger issues, Pike County Road Supervisors report, you had a motion to allow you to come up if you don't care. We're going to go ahead and pass over treasurer's business because our treasurer is not here tonight. You have an item on the agenda. Would you please explain that to us? If you don't
That was
care?
just to give me permission to, when blacktop season does start, to allow me to hire some additional trucks to help me haul this blacktop.
Well, one of the issues is we've got a bunch of blacktop areas that we got to fix on Blackberry Creek, Peter Creek, places that have flood damage.
Yeah.
And, you know, we had some areas that were flooded twice, you know, from August to January 1st. You know, this is a lot of the damage we had repaired only to see it get torn up again. Some of this is going to be covered by FEMA because I do want to make an announcement that on February 27th, President Biden granted a major disaster declaration for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, triggering the release of federal funds to help communities recover from severe storms, straight-line winds, tornadoes, flooding, landslides, and mudslides that occurred December 31st to January 2nd. Pike County was one of those counties that was included in the disaster declaration. So that's very good news. That's going to help the fiscal court with the road damage, the other public damage that we have, things like the Big Creek Fire Department It's going to help the power company with the damage to their infrastructure. Mountain Water had a lot of damage to their infrastructure. The State Transportation Cabinet had significant damage. Places like up on Route 199 on Pond Creek, I was up looking at it this weekend. There are a lot of places throughout eastern Kentucky that had damage. Interestingly, the counties that seemed to be the hardest hit were Pike, in this area, Pike, Floyd, Johnson, and Lawrence counties. So it was widespread, obviously mostly to the northern half of Pike County, but still widespread. So I wanted to give you the good news that we're going to get help from FEMA. One thing before we address this, this issue of the trucks is at this point, individual assistance for private homeowners has been denied. That doesn't mean it's a final denial, but we received an email today at 9:57 a.m. This is from Kentucky Emergency Management's Recovery Branch Manager. It basically says FEMA has denied individual assistance due to their inability to come to a determination based on the information provided for the impact to your county as a result of the severe storms, straight line winds, tornadoes, etc. Now, this was done for most of the counties, it's my understanding. And we were concerned, and we've said all along, that we didn't know if we had enough damage to qualify. They were asking if we had any other additional damage that might support the claim. So, Nee, I'm going to give you this email tonight. If you could start looking at this, we need to make sure that we've got everything documented. If you're listening to this and you were damaged, it's important, if you've not called the fiscal court, you've not called our emergency management office, the number for Pike County Emergency Management is 432-0210. 432-0210. If you'll call, and if you did not report your damage, it's vitally important that you do that, because I had a lady from Johns Creek message me yesterday. There's so many people need help, and we want to make sure that we've done everything possible to try to reach the threshold. We're not there yet. So if there's additional damage that we need to know about, make sure you do. We did a very thorough assessment. We had a lot of hands in the field. We're pretty confident that we did document everything, but it's always worth making sure that you didn't miss anything. So, Nee, would you like to come up?
Yes, Judge. I've already spoken with a FEMA representative this afternoon, and we've already started an appeal process on the denial. So, and if people do report damage that they don't think has already been reported, basically all that they're going to, if they had damage to the home, not to the property, driveway, that type thing, if it was actually to the home itself, is what they're looking at right now. And talking to them, but we've already started the appeals process. So we got that email this morning and have already started that. I wanted to let everybody know that it has already started the process of appealing it.
All right. Thank you very much. Keep us posted on that too, if you don't care. Thank you. So the reason I sort of dovetailed this into the road supervisor's report is we're going to be doing a lot of road repairs as soon as the blacktop plant opens. And one of the issues when you're hauling blacktop from Shelby to Blackberry or Phelps, you have an issue because sometimes it starts getting too cool to put down.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what we want to make sure is that we've got adequate trucks to get the blacktop there, so we don't have this lag time, and that way as soon as it gets there we can get it down and so forth. Fair statement.
No, yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, because especially starting out early, as we will be this year, we'll be starting earlier than normal. With the temperature, it plays a lot in your blacktop.
And we plan on having your days are your blacktop day. Your I guess the hours of the day that you're going to work are probably going to be limited because of the weather too. So we want to make sure that we get this work done in a timely fashion. We're going to have 2 or 3 crews out every day once the plant opens back up. So would there be a motion to authorize the road supervisor to retain the service of contract trucks for purpose of hauling blacktop?
Motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Robertson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tackett. Obviously, we need to make sure that that stays within the procurement code guidelines, not to exceed $30,000. Normally, we don't do that.
No, we wouldn't.
But we need to make sure that we get that done and we don't waste blacktop in the process. All right.
That's it.
One other thing, Commissioner Booth needed to mention something about Billy Ball.
Yeah,
Hollow.
me and Fabian's talked about it.
So we, just so the public knows, we are working on a bypass for that
Yes.
bridge. I had a lady contact me yesterday about the condition of the Billy Ball Hollow Bridge. I was up in Pond Creek, looked at it this weekend. You know, you think the bridge is structurally okay for now,
For now, yes.
but we obviously recognize issues. Mr. Little has put that bridge in for FEMA as part of the disaster declaration. We're hoping that FEMA will help pick the cost of replacing that bridge up.
Exactly.
And, because it will be expensive. But right now, Kevin King, the county attorney, has spoken, I think it was Mike Blackburn of
Yeah.
Pocahontas Land Company. And Mike has graciously agreed to provide us with an easement to bypass that bridge so that we can, you know, alleviate the concerns that some of the folks there have.
Yeah, I think the people that lived there was really was concerned about it and said they was scared to cross the bridge. So Mike jumped in really quick with Pocahontas, and that's, you know, he's done us really well at that. Grateful for Mike for doing that, to give us a bypass down through there. So great news for that.
And thanks for your work on that too, Commissioner.
Thank you.
All right. The next item is,
We need a roll call.
oh, I'm sorry. We have a motion by Commissioner Robertson, second by Commissioner Tackett. Any other question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett,
Yes.
Commissioner Booth,
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes. All right. Are we prepared to discuss the Hardy Park situation, or do you want to wait till? Paul, would you like to come up briefly, and we'll just briefly address the issue with Hardy Park? Mr. Kevin King, the county attorney, is not here tonight. His son, Colin, has a 17th birthday today, and Kevin is spending the evening with his son. So we want to wish Colin a very happy birthday. But Paul, you've had some discussions of the condition of the park and have looked at the lease agreement. I think Roy may have already looked at it as well. Is that correct, Colonel?
Yes, Judge.
So go ahead, Roy. I'm not sure if you or Paul want to take this on to begin with.
Judge, I can give the court an update as to what I've done, and it may overlap with some of what Paul will tell the court. We had some information that perhaps they were having some issues and they weren't living up to their part of the lease agreement, and I have looked at that, and I have put them on notice as of January the 6th that we thought there were some terms that they were perhaps in violation of, and if they didn't get those corrected, that we would consider terminating the lease. Now, those would be that they haven't kept the utilities and stuff like that on, and that is part of the lease. I also understand that they didn't pay the amount that was agreed on. And the fact that they're not keeping the sewage plant operational will cause us problems down the road. So my recommendation to the court would be that unless they correct this by, and we got to be careful with the days because the 60 days in February only has 28 if you're counting, but by next Tuesday, I think that they would have enough time that they haven't corrected them. With your all's permission, I could send them a letter and say we're terminating your lease if you choose to go that way. The other option would be to bring them in here and let them explain what they would like to do, but we're not getting any indication because of the change in economy and stuff like that, that this is a project that they are looking to go forward on at this point.
Commissioner Booth, what's your position? It's your district, your neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, Roy sent them a letter and we give them 60 days to turn the sewer back on, turn the power back on. He said they'd received their letters. I think Paul said the power and sewer and stuff's still not back up and operational, is it, Paul?
No, no.
So,
So, if we don't hear something are you agreeable to wait until the next court meeting? Is that?
that way it puts you up definitely into the 60 days, correct, Roy?
So if they haven't contacted me, I'll report back to you at the next court meeting, and then you all can decide what you want to do then.
And you know, if they don't do that, I would like to look at the opportunity, the possibility of leasing the pool out like we did previously to a private business person that might be interested in running it during the summers. Same thing with the Phelps pool. We need to take a look at that pool to see. That pool, we had a leak in it. We need to make sure that the pool at Phelps could be opened if we.
The one at Phelps, Judge, we got a leak in it, and I just don't, I don't know where it's at right now, you know. I don't know if we can open it. We lost a lot of water last time we had it open, you know. We dug down a few years back and found 8-inch pipe cracked, and we fixed it. It seemed like it held water for a little while. Then it started again, so.
Could you see if we could get somebody to look at it, somebody that may have a way? You think is it in the structure of the pool or is it in the pipes?
I believe it's in the pipes. Like I said, Mark White said he built a pool over there, so I might give it to him. He might remember. He might even have some print.
I wonder if we could get some company that's got, you know, the cameras that they could put in there. Why don't you see what you can find out? See if we could.
We run cameras in it because I had the city come over and help me once, but I still couldn't find it. Like I said, I had it fixed, and then it lasted just a few months, and then the last year it opened, it just continues putting water in it. We had time with trying to keep it open, you know.
Well, we can make that decision if you can get with us before the next court meeting. We'd appreciate that.
And on the Hardy Park on the softball field, the middle school was wanting to practice on the softball field. That's one of the big issues right now, and there's wanting lights on. There's no power for them to turn the lights on.
Well, if they can wait obviously the property's been leased. I think before we can't agree to that until we terminate the lease.
Right.
But, you know, there's nothing that keeps them from reaching out to the folks that have the property under lease right now. And, you know, obviously it may be something with the economy, with COVID, that may have hindered this project. Because I know that they were very willing to go forward with it. But, you know, we'll see what happens in the next 2 weeks. And then if you could reach out, see what we can find out about the Phelps pool.
I will.
All right. Any other business, Mr. Williamson?
No, that'd be it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Colonel. All right. One of the big agenda items tonight is, I'm going to go ahead and jump around a little bit. I'm going to pass over executive session. I don't think we need that tonight. The big item on the agenda is I have asked Eric Ratliff and Sharon Hall, our grant writers, to give the people of Pike County an update on the work that they're doing and to let the public know exactly some of the work that's done behind the scenes by people that don't get a lot of credit. But Sharon and Eric work very hard. They're excellent partners with the fiscal court, and we appreciate you. And you're going to see, I think here in a second, they're doing some really good stuff. You know, Pike County's had some hard times, and, you know, loss of coal jobs. You know, we've had some significant financial problems here in the county. Fiscal court's had problems. But, you know, we've got our financial house in order now here at the fiscal court. And, you know, without any tax increase, without any COVID money, we're operating under a budget surplus. And that surplus has allowed us to do a lot of really good things. That surplus has allowed us to develop a comprehensive ATV trail system that has only been talked about. We've got over 6,000 acres either owned, donated, or under lease. And we're going to get this done. And Commissioners Robertson, Booth, and Tackett have worked really hard on this. And it's not going to be just benefit one part of the county. It's going to go across the county, hopefully tying into the Hatfield-McCoy Trail and the Spearhead Trail system in Virginia. You know, we're really close to starting the infrastructure on the Wolf Pit Industrial Technology Park. Because we had our house in order, our financial affairs in order, we've been able to obtain $2.5 million in grant money from the federal government to start the infrastructure. I'll say this, I'll say it always. Because you have an industrial site doesn't mean you're going to get businesses there. But I can tell you, without a site and without a proper infrastructure, you have no shot. We've got some really good things going, and you're going to hear about here in just a second. But one of the things having our financial affairs in order has allowed us to do is it's allowed us to bring 2 grant writers, 2 certified grant writers. No other county anywhere is doing what we're doing in rural Kentucky. I put our grant office up against anybody. You know, $2.5 million for the Wolf Pit site. We've got grant applications in on our trail system. We got a lot of good stuff that in the works, and we've got a lot of stuff that we've already done. So I'd like to ask Sharon and Eric to come on up for a minute, and we're going to go through some of the projects. Welcome. So, who wants to go first? Good news.
Ladies first.
Okay, I don't mind. Okay, we can go ahead and talk about the Wolf Pit Industrial Site Project first, if you'd like to.
Yes, ma'am.
We have 3 different funds in that project. Total project so far is 3.1, or just round it off, $3.2 million. We were just awarded a grant this past year from AML to do the power. EDA funded us at the end of May for water and sewer. Eric can tell you where we are on that. The AML grant is actually in the vetting process at OSMR, Office of Reclamation, Surface Mining and Reclamation. It goes to Washington, D.C. They go through it to make sure you really do have a nexus, which we really do, an AML nexus. You know, there had to be pre-law 1982 mining there, historic mining. That should be just about complete, and I'll hear back from them. The cost severance portion match in that. We're doing our first drawdowns to pay the engineers, and I'll let Eric tell you about the EDA part of it.
Currently, right now, Palmer Engineering is the engineer of record on the Wolf Pit infrastructure, which is water and sewer. We plan to hit the target date of start construction by May 22nd. And that will be the water portion. Shortly after that, we will do the sewer. And the reason why we're delaying a little bit in the sewer is because we're trying to find the best route to get sewage up to that site. So we have to designate, we've got some tree cutting we're going to have to do, and we got to get that done by March the 31st. But we will go to bid on the water before that May 22nd date. We've relocated the water tank to a different site that, thankful, it is owned by Pike County Fiscal Court and not a private landowner, which will save money on acquisition and speed the process up. So we're hoping to have that started by the deadline. We have a target date of construction for a year, so hopefully the project will be done May 22nd of 2023.
So hopefully the water construction will start this May.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, this is one of the projects that shows why it's important to spend money wisely. Because, you know, you two have worked hard. I mean, $2.569 million on this one project. And I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, EDA pays for 80% of the cost, and the county needs to just come up with 20%, which is as the budget is right now, it's around $460,000.
I think that, now, we've also committed some of our single county coal severance tax money to the project. So 2.569 million from AML and EDA, 620,000 from the local government economic development funds. We also want to thank BB&T Community Reinvestment Act grant program, and that's now the Truist Foundation, I believe. They donated $7,000 just to help get the sign put up.
And the
So-
gate, yes.
And in the gate, and, you know, we want to thank particularly Justin Prater at used to be BB&T and Truist. He's been a really big help. We worked with Justin. He was able to set Big Sandy Community Technical College up for a $105,000 grant through this same foundation so they can start an EMT training program, that's something that's desperately needed in order to help get our ambulance services staffed. So anyway, we wanted just to mention them as well. All right, so Sharon, please proceed.
Okay, we'll move to solid waste, and they always have a lot going on. I know since I've been here, and Judge, since you've been here, we have received $1.6 million in grants for illegal open dumps, recycling, litter abatement, and waste hire. This year, the illegal open dumps funded us $147,154. This year did not include Fishtrip. So if we would have gotten Fishtrip this year, they asked me not to apply because we got funded 3 years in a row, and they said, no, you're wasting your time, don't do that, we won't fund you. We would have been over $200,000 again. This $147,000 is for 10 separate grants to 10 separate sites. And we're getting ready we're accepting bids until March 24th. We'll have a pre-bid meeting on March the 10th at 10 o'clock to explain the process to the people that want to bid.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention, you know, this court's taken a really strong position on cleaning up Pike County because if it's not clean, it makes it really hard to bring jobs here. You know, we spent somewhere around, you know, just in litter abatement and the illegal open dump cleanup, you're over, you know, roughly $1.3 million. You know, and that's a lot of money. And again, those grants are you know, where would we be without the grants? And I think they're very important.
A lot of trash, a lot of money. Recycling, Greg's been trying to help me. He does the bids on that for me, and we've been trying to purchase the baler, the new baler, and the newspaper trailer. The problem is when this was awarded, the $116,000, the baler was priced at $103, the quotes. Well, since that time, what is it, Greg, about $113? $118. Oh my God, every time I ask him, it goes back up again because just what the economy is right now. So, but we've got a while. We've got till the end of June to get that purchased. I guess we thought COVID would die down quicker and we'd get a better price, but that's not happened yet. And Greg's still whittling at it, trying to get it down, so we haven't purchased it. I hope we still can get the newspaper trailer because they really needed that in recycling. The one they have was starting to rust out, and they really wanted it. But we got till the end of June to get that purchased and close that out. And we've been very successful in the years past. So this past year, the last 3 years was $298,925. We have really upgraded our recycling department with forklifts, all kinds of equipment, trailers, roll-offs, mobile units that can move from place to place, and they have moved that one big, nice $20,000 trailer around. If you don't have the stuff out there, people aren't going to recycle. You just got to have it out there for them. So that's the recycling portion of it. Waste tire grants, I closed that out by July. All I have to do is just turn in invoices where they come pick the tires up. And really, 1 or 2 invoices covers that. It would be nice to get a lot more money for that, but that's just standard. They'll give you $4,000 to help pay on your tires.
All right. Let's talk about the water line projects.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a tough one. We've got 3 projects right now. The Maynard Fork project has been stalled by the environmental. Rural development is the administrator of the money for ARC where we receive the funding. Rural development is overwhelmed now with so many projects. And what they had told me back in September was, we were not allowed to do an environmental. You have to have the environmental complete and accepted. They do them. Well, they never did do them because they never had anybody to do one. So they finally broke down and said I could do it. So I did it with the guidelines that Big Sandy Area Development District provided me and Rural Development provided me. The rural development person changed midstream at the time I was doing this environmental. So they finally look at it. It was submitted in December, and they finally look at it in February and decide there was one band of Indians in Oklahoma that didn't get a letter to let them know we were going to do this project. It was just crazy. But that 30-day review is up March the 7th, so I'm hoping to get to resubmit it again March 7th.
All right. So, so Maynard Fork is moving forward, is that correct?
Yes, Division of Waters already approved it. We already have a right-of-way certificate signed. Anything that can be done on it, we're ahead of everything else on it. We're just waiting on the environmental to be approved. And
Okay.
there's nothing we can do about it. That's the federal government. Brushy Sycamore, the KIA, I talked with Roger Rechtenwald with KIA this afternoon. They're still waiting on approval on the letter of conditions. It was sent to the attorneys a week and a half ago. He said, I'm praying that it'll be approved by Friday. We have to get that letter so that then we can submit to try to get the rest of the funding in the underserved or underfunded. He thinks we're going to be okay on that.
I think Eric's working also on, are you all working, Eric, on another grant? So the cost of the Brushy Sycamore Water Project's about $2.5 million. Is that right?
Yes, sir. $2,325,500.
So we've got another request pending with Kentucky Infrastructure Authority for $708,000. And if we don't get that, what's our fallback position?
I'm gonna apply through AML, go back through it again. I'd applied for AML in 2021 round and it got rejected, so I'll just turn around and resubmit it again.
And I also included it on the FY 2023 Appropriations Community Projects Funding List for Congressman Rogers. I sent him 4 projects to look at. You know, if all else, try everywhere you can.
Yeah, AML is due April 1st.
Right.
All right, let's talk about the Fishtrip hydraulic modification project.
Fishtrip is it's an ARC project. It's to go into the fish trap area, increase size of line because there's some hydraulic problems there in that area, especially getting water to the fish trap dam. One thing it's like Sharon's ARC project. It's being held up because normally Department for Local Government would administer these ARC projects, which is ARC stands for Appalachian Regional Commission. And where they're so overwhelmed with a lot of money coming from the federal government through COVID, they're just overwhelmed. They don't have the staff, so they are using rural development to administer the projects. And so now rural development's overwhelmed, and they don't have enough staff.
No, they don't have the staff.
We're just, we're at their mercy. We're proceeding as fast as we can to get to it. But it's, when you're dealing with a federal or state agency, you go as fast as you can, and that's about, you can't push them any harder. So, but yeah, I'm in the same shape as Sharon. I've done many environmental reviews over my 30-year career working in project administration, and I've yet to have to send a scoping letter to the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma. So
Wow.
You tell me.
So it's like spending $20,000 on a crawdad
We send the
study.
scoping letters to the group that's located in North Carolina.
Cherokee. Yeah.
And that is sufficient enough for Department for Local Government. But when you're dealing with rural development, you also have to send a letter to the group in Oklahoma. So we have to give them a 30-day comment period. And Judge, as long as I've been doing this, I've never received a response letter from the Cherokee Nation
I just have
from
to
North
verify
Carolina or Oklahoma.
Okay.
So, and it's just it's just slowing us down.
Or 25 other people on that list.
And we won't receive a response. And I've never had in my 30 years doing this, I'll never receive a response.
So
God, you didn't have minnows or crawdads.
Or bats.
I'm having to deal with bats.
We have bats at
on
Wolf
Wolf Pit and crawdads on water projects, so. anyway.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. That's
Okay.
all I got with that one.
That's with those that's the three main water projects right now.
What's the total of the water projects that we've got in the works right now?
Right now, $3,364,605.
All right, the next project is a FEMA project for hazard mitigation. I don't know if Jimmy wants to come up and talk about it, or if Jimmy, you want to come up, or you want to let Sharon talk about it? Just go ahead, Sharon. Jimmy's pointing to you, I think.
That's another
I
one
knew
of
he'd
those
cop out.
long projects.
I knew you
Now,
would.
that is passing the buck right
I
there.
knew you would.
That's okay. I'm used to it. No, I'm just kidding. No, this is a long-time project, too. I wrote the pre-app in 2019. I wrote the formal app in 2020. We finally get approved in 2021. But now Jimmy has worked hard on the acquisition and all of the stuff that goes with it. Right now, I think the bank stabilization design is complete, or 99% complete. Is that right, Jimmy? And he's working on acquisition with the current homeowners.
Well, I can tell you how this project started. I was contacted when I was still in the state senate,
It's all.
and shortly after I had been elected as judge, I went over with Pike County Judge Executive Bill Deskins, and we met with Mr. Frank Scott. We looked at it, and this is a problem that not only impacted Mr. Scott's home, but some other property owners. And there's, through that section of Upper Pond Creek, I think Jimmy would agree with me, there's other areas where we've got severe erosion, not only on the creek bank away from the road, but on the state roadway as well. There's one area where the one lane of the road is virtually gone. Sean Scott reached out to me. He lives over in that area, and it's eroding into his. So there's probably going to have to be some additional hazard mitigation work done over there. But at least we were able to help those homeowners that were affected. And what was the amount of that grant?
The total on that grant was $621,285. Jim's got photos from the last 3 years. It's even changed even more. The stream has totally took a different path, and it's running up under those houses. The acquisition part of that is 3 homes, and he's working with those homeowners right now. Oh, that's good. That's really good. I'm glad. But that's where we are on this FEMA project. We've got future ones. We'll get to that, the things that we are applying for now. The utility assistance grant that I wrote to Block Grant, unfortunately, those funds haven't been utilized, and they're not being utilized anywhere across the state. What happened was they quickly took that funding to try to assist people and let us pick a utility, let each the counties or cities pick a utility to help them out during COVID. But there was other funding that called LIHEAP, and those funds had to be used first, and they still have funding. This is part of Big Sandy Community Action funds that they actually distribute. So there was a problem with that, and the last court meeting we decided to not participate, let that go back in another pot and apply for a block grant, COVID-related. So it's going to the Pikeville Senior Citizens Project, which is fantastic that it can. But that's what happened with that.
So the CDBG public assistance grant wasn't utilized.
No, it's not been utilized anywhere.
Don't have it on here, but we're applying for another $1 million to help.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I updated the list again and added that on there, $1 million that they offered to us.
Heard anything about that grant since last court meeting last week?
Judge, right now I'm working on the narrative part. Kevin Gillum has met with Tim to see what kind of geotechnical information he's got that CSI out of Lexington did. And I've got a public hearing scheduled for March the 23rd, because we have to do a public hearing, and then we have to provide a 15-day comment period on the application before we can submit it. So I can get it submitted once I get cost estimates from Kevin. I can get it in by the 1st of the month.
And Travis told me that the turnaround would be 4 or 5 days, which is unreal. Fantastic. nothing has a turnaround of 4 or 5 days.
So are you optimistic that we'll get that grant?
I am. I mean, Travis Weber with Community Development Block Grant in Frankfurt, he said, I can't guarantee it, but he said, I can promise you, you've got a really good shot. So I think so.
What I'd planned to do, Judge, and this is before this came around, but we were going to, whenever the next disaster was declared, we were going to submit that project through HMGP, Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. It takes a while, but that was at the time, that was our best source to get that done, because that would have been, you know, the county would have paid 13% of the cost. So, you know, we could still submit that way. I mean, I don't like to put all my eggs in one basket. If I submit to Community Development Block Grant, I may go ahead and submit through Hazard Mitigation just to make sure.
So let's move on then. The Pike County ATV trails, we've committed $525,000 to that from LGEDF funding.
Yes.
And then tell us about the Shelby Valley Fire Department. Commissioner Tackett's, this was a project that he worked on that was important to him. Would you want to go ahead, Sharon? And
Oh,
just
I'm
tell
sorry.
him, and
Yeah, I
he'll
thought you
probably want to
meant
address
Commissioner
it.
Tackett was going to talk about it. Yes, the Shelby Valley Volunteer Fire Department contacted us and needed a truck bay for a rescue vehicle because they could not keep one on site. They didn't have room for it. And that put their response time another 30 minutes. So I applied to rural development, got the grant, and then we did the other portion through the match through House Bill 352, local LGEDF, local government economic development funds. And I mean, it was a great project. And actually, rural development at that time, it wasn't that hard to work with. The project's done. They're really happy with it. Truck bay's finished. Good job.
And the people who live on Long Fork's happy with it too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, that was a good project.
All right. Let's move on to Leviathan Fork. This is the 202 Flood Basin U.S. Army Corps of Engineers project. I'm going to address this briefly. This is our share of the flood protection project for Coal Run. I made the trip with Deputy Judge Hickman back during the Bevan administration. We were able to obtain $656,980 from the Bevan administration, and then working with Congressman Rogers and Governor Beshear, we were able to obtain $442,105 this year in ARC funding for a total of roughly $1.1 million to move that project forward. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
All right. So now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Little, or I'll run through these numbers real quick. Now, I just want to point out that none of the money we've talked about so far is COVID money, at least
No.
money
this
that
was
came
just
from the
grant money
county's
that was
COVID
out there.
funding.
We looked for and we got it, yes.
All right. So we've committed so far $2.3 million in coal LGEDF funding, coal severance funding to our roads. And keep in mind that statutorily, the LGEAF portion of coal severance, 30% of that was set aside for roads. And we're doing something a little bit different. We've got major road repairs that were needed, and we're starting to address those. And so far, we spent $2,350,000 on road and bridge repairs in 2020 and 2021. And then working with the Bevan administration at the time, we were able to obtain $936,600. Mr. Little, can you walk us through what projects those were? I know, but I'm gonna let you tell us. I'm gonna
Well,
check your minute.
you can do it also. I mean, but that first year that we came in, this money was actually helped with the landfill project, actually, because fixing the road from Ford Mountain up into Brushy. It was also fixing the road fork over into Sookish Creek. It was for the guardrail on Ford Mountain. And that's why I included the guardrail. Actually did help the landfill also because of the steep terrain of the mountain. And that's where most of the bulk of that money had went to.
I think part of it went on Sycamore Mountain too, didn't it?
It did, yes.
All right, then we obtain, this is a project that Commissioner Tackett, actually, we went down and met with Secretary Jim Gray. The entire commission was at one of the conferences. Commissioner Tackett put a package together, and he hand-delivered it to Transportation Cabinet Secretary Jim Gray and Rocky Atkins. And as a result, they obtained $350,000 in discretionary funding to replace the Penny Street Bridge, a bridge that serves.
Honestly, there's 100, well, okay, there's, I think, 89.
101.
How
There's 101
Okay, so 101
homes.
over there, and this is their only way in or out. And be happy to say that Mr. Kaiser, he has sent in the final for the permitting. Everything should be done, and we should hear something about the permit. I think he said he'd tell me in 60 days.
Yeah, I think Mr. Kaiser said we should have the permit back to start construction.
Yeah.
At the end of May, 1st of June. Is that correct, Jimmy? And, the project's been held up, not because of us, but because of making sure we don't impact crawdads. We had to do an environmental impact study, but we had to jump through that.
So
hoop.
hopefully, if everything goes well, with no major floodings, or we might have that bridge finished by the time snow flies.
Just hope there are no lizards show up.
So
That's all we need, spring lizard.
we obtained $405,000 in flex funding in 2020 and emergency bridge funding of $181,264. That's $937,179 in 2020. In addition to the $936,600 the year before. Then this year, 2021, we've obtained discretionary road funds of $467,604, flex funding of $377,297. We have another discretionary road fund request in pending for $907,236. Even without that, we're over $800,000 for this year. That was money that was used to pay Barnshee. That was used to pave Rock House or Pinson Fork of tell me, Brian, Rock House Mountain of Sydney, I should say. My allergies are getting to me. So the total of discretionary and state funding that we've been able to obtain is roughly $5.1 million so far.
And then if we do get the amount that's pending, that includes, and that would almost finish us up completely in that brushy area, because what the court's been able to do is blacktop so far from Ford Mountain to 881, to the highway route number 881.
And Sycamore all the way through as well.
So now if we get this will take us, because that's 9.8 miles, I think, and that will take us from 881 all the way to Sycamore, to the mouth of Sycamore Mountain.
Mr. Maynard and I were over there last week, and from 881, where you turn left,
Yes.
go down towards Sycamore, is in really bad
No,
shape.
it is. It's very badly needed, and I actually submitted pictures of that road in for this funding just because it's in bad shape and it's needed.
All right, go ahead, Sharon.
Okay. The Pike County Sheriff's Department, this was another one of them long grants, not necessarily a large grant, but I wrote a grant to the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security. That's funding they receive from the sale of guns that they confiscate. And for guns and ammunition, it was $9,552. They actually received their guns a couple weeks ago and their ammunition. They would only allow me to apply for funding full-time deputies, because we were requesting double that amount, and they wouldn't let me do it for volunteer deputies, or it had to be full-time deputies. The body armor, they just measured for that last week. There was a 9-month wait on the equipment, so they sent their measurements in. That's $6,400. Total on that Homeland Security was $15,952. And then we did a LGEDF for cruisers, $300,000. I think that bought 10 cruisers. That's complete. Total for the Pike County Sheriff's Department is $315,952 to try to get them up to date. Pretty much. We've still got a couple more things to do.
We talked about a radio grant program
Yes, the
that
radio
we're looking
grants.
at. One of the things I wanted to mention is, the fiscal court is, we've had a lot of issues. We've seen an increase in crime in the county. We've seen an increase in meth and heroin and things that, none of us really thought would happen here. We've had this issue with people inhabiting abandoned homes and structures. I suspect that, I know that I talked to Commissioner Booth about this. He is adamant that we take steps to either the coal severance tax money or other monies to help Sheriff Scott this year obtain additional cruisers. He's seen a significant problem in the South Williamson area, Hardy, because there's been people coming in from West Virginia. And Brian, you want to address that real quick?
Yeah, Judge, we've had numerous of people coming out from a rehab center out West Virginia that's become homeless and just taken up in various homes in South Williamson, even up in Turkey Creek, Hardy, Belfry. They've even got areas there in in behind some of the stores there in South Williamson. So this has been much needed money for the Sheriff's Department for more manpower, more vehicles and stuff. If they can put more deputies out there, this would be a great help for them to help this problem, and hopefully we'll have a loose an ordinance right in there soon that will also help with this problem. It's just, it will seem like whenever it gets dark, you start seeing them come out, especially through the Hardy and the South Williamson area down there. So I think it's be a great improvement for the Sheriff's Department to get this money for that.
One thing that I need to mention too is on this same public safety issue, the fiscal court is providing a historically high amount of funding for the sheriff's office. This year, we're going to be somewhere around $800,000 in direct support to the sheriff's office because we recognize how important the public safety function that Sheriff Scott provides is. So anyway, we'll move on from that. Let's talk about broadband. It's something that has been a sore subject. We talked about the Suddenlink issues in the last court meeting. Judge Hickman and I have been working with the Center for Rural Development on this. We have been waiting on requests for proposal drafts on some public-private partnerships in the Elkhorn City area and in the Belfry, South Williamson area. We've not received those. Reggie missed a call from Scott Serber this week. We've got to try to get up with him and see what we can do to expedite this, but run us through the broadband, what we've done on broadband so far.
Okay, so far on broadband, we've received $210,000. That was used for a feasibility study for all of Pike County. The EDA portion and the AEP, Kentucky Power, KPEG grant, those were written right before I came and that person left, so those funds were not utilized. And of course, we knew that wasn't enough money because when we sent out the RFP, that wasn't even, or the RFQ, it wasn't even close. So we added some coal severance funding, and the Center for Rural Development offered this $100,000 grant. I think, Eric, you were at Big Sandy Ad when that was written.
Yeah, I
Big
wrote
Sandy
that
Ad
one
wrote
up.
that.
at Big
He wrote
Sandy
that
Ad.
one at Big Sandy Ad. So it brought us up to $210,000 to get the study done. It's just that the results of the study were pretty staggering. You know, like, were we going to get $10 million to do the whole county, or $20 million?
The actual cost to do the whole county
Yeah,
was
$100.
$151 million.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So let me say that again. People wondered, about broadband. It's going to be hard to do broadband without a public-private partnership because while there is some money out there we can work with through the Center for Rural Development, through the ARPA funds, the big money is probably going to come from this last infrastructure bill. We don't know exactly how much. I think it was $100 don't hold me to this, $100 million or something was set aside for that. It was a substantial amount of money. Maybe it's more than that. It may have been billions of dollars. I'm not sure what the numbers, so don't quote me on that. But there was a lot of money set aside in that bill. I'm not sure Congress knows what was all in the bill. There was so much money appropriated. But we're going to see how much we get out of that.
Right.
But the cost to do, there's two things about that study that stood out to me. One was the cost to do broadband in Pike County was over $150 million. Was it 151, Eric?
151, yes.
$151 million. And the other thing that stood out was that when they did the study, they identified over 600 abandoned structures in the county, abandoned homes, abandoned commercial buildings. That's an alarming number, and that goes back to this whole public safety issue, and we'll be talking about that more in the next few weeks. So, but we are working on broadband. We want people to know that, but this is not a situation where the fiscal court is going to get in the internet business. We're going to act as a conduit to help entities that are interested in doing these projects obtain funding, because they are very complicated. The Kentucky Wired Initiative that started when I was in the legislature is, that was a very complicated project. It's still ongoing, and, there's still things in the works on that. Let's talk about Elkhorn City. Start here with the Breaks Interstate Park Walk Bridge, and then we can...
I talked to Austin Bradley, the superintendent up there last week. He was talking with Eric on the other projects, the couple other projects up there. He says they're going to rebid the walk bridge in April. The sole source person, whatever, that bid on it, it was way too high, but their funding is in place, what they need, because he found some other sources of funding. But the $40,000 that we gave them was to help pay for the design, so that they could get preliminary engineering, so they could get the cost in order to send out the bids. I think they came in December, and it was crazy. It just wasn't even near what they wanted. So they found some other people to do that will reply when they send this bid out in April.
So the one thing I want to mention is just what we've done so far. Even when when factoring in the pending request of $907,000 on the road discretionary funds and $708 that I'm pretty comfortable that we're going to get for the Brushy project.
I think so too.
Would you tell the folks that are listening the number of monies that we've been awarded in terms of grants and that we've allocated for these special projects?
From 2019 till now, $17,435,454.
And even if we take out those two discretionary
Take out that
projects, you're still around
one.
16 million.
Yeah, you're at 1.6.
Now, that's not all the work that we've done or that we have in the works, correct?
Oh, no,
There's a lot more still
we've got
pending.
pages. Oh, and I've, written grants that didn't get funded.
So let's jump over, Eric.
On the current, some things we're working on right now. Now, this is just the spring. This is not the whole year. This is what we're working on currently right now.
Eric, why don't you tell us about some of the projects that you're working on that are on this list that you provided to us?
Well, the very top one is a hazard mitigation grant application. Now, it's been submitted to FEMA in Washington for review. That one includes acquisition for structures over in the South Williamson area, and it also includes the cemetery judge on Island Creek to try to relocate that cemetery where they've had some severe slips in the past. So that cemetery and those four structures, and there's one slide that's behind one house on 119, it's included in that one. So it's pending. It's been submitted.
So just so, it's a big county. We had Hensley's auto body over at South Williamson. Part of that building fell in the river.
And that's one of them.
And there's some other structures there.
Yes.
Then up where I live on Left Fork of Island Creek, there's a family cemetery. We've had AML there multiple times. Yeah. And we've had some slides that have closed the road. We're very concerned that it could end up impacting, and I think Mr. Little is convinced, the road supervisor is convinced that at some point with a big rain that we're going to have potentially the potential for dislodgement of some of the burial containers.
Yeah, there's 28 existing graves up there, Judge, that we're trying to get
So you're
located
working,
out of that area.
so just public understands, we've got a grant in the process to relocate that cemetery and the structures over on the Tug that have been impacted.
Yeah, several of those are located on Central Avenue, South Williamson. And they're mostly just, and two of them are businesses, and two of them are residential.
Now, we also, why don't you talk about the hazard mitigation grant that we have for the Blackberry Fire Department?
That one, Jimmy and I submitted the, what they call MAF, it's a mitigation action form that we submitted through the last disaster that was declared by President Biden. And that one passed the initial review. Now, with what's happened in the tragedy over in Western Kentucky, it's kind of slowed everything down. So we've passed the first step of buying that property where the Blackberry Volunteer Fire Department is and moving it over there next to the Senior Citizen Center. The next part, step two, will be that the project will have to pass what they call a benefit cost analysis, and then Kentucky Emergency Management will run that analysis to see if it passes. And if it passes what they call BCA, then the next step will be to do the application and submit it to FEMA. But I don't think we'd have any issues with it. It made step one, so I think we'll be all right. It may take some time, Judge, but I think we'll get there.
What about the Big Creek Fire Department? Because we talked about doing HMGP.
Yeah, and we're waiting on the next disaster to be declared on that one, and I text my contact at Kentucky Emergency Management to see with that, it was in our folder, I think it was 4363. I text her, she's not responded back yet, but if we could go ahead and submit the map, the mitigation action form on that fire department.
Because the reason I say that, we've already got we got the disaster declaration Sunday or Saturday or Sunday is when the president signed it. So that should bring another pool of HMGP money available,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, and that's been the reason, the existing, the 4595 and the 4592 just ran out of money. We couldn't submit them through them. We tried, Jimmy and I tried, but they just ran out of money. So we just been waiting on the next disaster to be declared. You hate to hear a disaster coming, but that's just, the nature of the beast, and you have to just wait to see one declared before you can submit. But we will get that one submitted, Judge.
All right, let's flip over to the second page and talk about what's going on with Elkhorn City.
We want to discuss Ratliff Hole, is that what you?
Well, let's talk about the Elkhorn City wastewater collection improvement project.
Okay. Well, Judge, I have been assisting Elkhorn City since I came back into project administration. I took a brief stint and left. Got into utility business, and then got into one of my other favorite loves was banking. And when I left J.P. Morgan Chase, and I think it was like 2019, I came back to the ad because I just couldn't stand the drive anymore. So I got with Mayor Taylor, put together a CDBG application, an ARC application to do some wastewater collection improvements in Elkhorn City, and then the court was gracious enough to give them $145,409 in co-severance monies to fund that project, and that project right now is currently under design. We've assisted with an ARC application to put a new water storage tank in Elkhorn City at the end of Steelhouse Road, and that's been funded. Judge, there's so many, I'll have to, give me just a second, let me get my notes out of here.
How about I run through this with you? So we talked about the water storage tank project you're working on. You've got the project that's being funded by the Army Corps in the amount of $457,500, an ARC grant that you completed in the amount of $237,750, and you're just waiting on the funding announcement for the ARC, correct?
On
on the water storage tank?
Oh, yeah, that one's gonna get funded. The Army Corps of Engineers, through the 531 program, has got money in that project. So between the collection project, between the water storage tank, and I went him through Ratliff Hole in there because it does affect Elkhorn City, but I entered that through the Breaks Interstate Park as the applicant. And that one is right now is in ARC Washington right now and under review. Counting the ARC projects that we've helped them get with the CDBG and the co-severance funding that the court has graciously gave them over the last 3 years, Elkhorn City has received just a little bit over $2 million.
Eric,
Yes, sir.
that's been in the last 3 years. We have helped Elkhorn City get how much?
$2.016373. So that's $2,016,373.
Okay.
Just for Elkhorn City area.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else for Elkhorn?
No, sir.
All right. So we've got a lot of projects in the works. Another big issue is broadband. We've got grants, I think, pending on the trail system. Is that correct, Sharon?
Quite a few. I'm applying to EDA for water and sewer for the Elkhorn Creek side of the trails at Flatwoods. That's the first leg of our trails that we're going to develop, of course, because that's where we've got, over 5,000 acres. And I'm going to apply to AML for trailheads, restrooms, picnic shelters, lighting. And I'm trying to keep that grant lower, because I know the funding is not going to be great. $425,790. The EDA grant is a big grant. That's a $3.2 million grant. The recreational trails program, there's $250,000 available, $200,000 for us. That picks up signage, convenience centers, some other the recreation part of the trails. Now, the land and water is a 50-50 grant, but I had filled out a survey to American Trails this was like a year and a half ago on our trails, a year ago. Somebody in Washington, D.C., they were doing a report at American Trails, an annual report about trails, and he picked up our project, sent me an email and said, will you update this? He said, I want to sponsor you for a grant, land and water grant. I was like, yay. Absolutely. So I updated them. I said, you wouldn't believe what's happened since then. We didn't even have the property at Flatwoods at that time. We had one lease. That was it. We had Big Sandy. So I told him all that was going on up there, that we had done some pre-construction and, had done a lot of work on it, purchased property, and it was rolling, got a director, and so he was real pleased. But he picked that project to put in their annual report and said he would sponsor us. He didn't say give money, but he would be and sponsor, because that's really federal money, land and water is, even though we apply for it through DLG. I haven't decided yet what we will get with that money, but I put it on there because I intend to apply for that. So right now, grants that I intend to do this spring is $4,141,000, and if we got funded for all of it, it'd be fabulous. We'd be ready.
So I want to talk about something that's very early, but somebody asked me about a project. I can't go into too much details about solar. We've been approached by a company about locating a solar farm on the property that we part was donated by the AEP and part we purchased. It would be a 35 megawatt facility. And the cost would be somewhere in the $60 million ranges, roughly in that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. That would generate rental income to the fiscal court that, in the rates that have been discussed, would repay the county's investment in 3 years. And going forward, that rent would help us service debt for things like trail development, trail expansion, infrastructure. It would also generate something along the lines of $30,000 a year in payments in lieu of taxes, meaning they're basically agreed to taxes that would help support our schools, the fiscal court, the health department, and so forth. So, we are working on that. It's very early. I'm encouraged by the people we've met with and talked to. They have already signed an agreement with another large land company whose property adjoins this Flatwoods property. Another county judge, I've discussed this with, where his county in south central Kentucky, same company is developing a solar farm. And, some people think, well, if you drive to Lexington, and when you get to Clark County, look on the left as you're going between Winchester and Lexington, there's a large solar farm. Now, the downside to the solar farms, they don't generate a lot of jobs, but it's clean energy. It helps our tax base, and it would generate money for the county because it would be located in large part on county property. So it's a win-win for the taxpayers. We'll keep the public posted on that when we're in a position to, I'm not announcing this, but the talks are in the works, and if, I'm optimistic, and we'll see where it goes.
Sounds great.
Judge Hickman, you want to discuss that at all?
Yeah, Judge, the only other thing about the project is during the construction phase, it's significant employment. Some of those jobs will be here. Some of those jobs would have to be brought in because of the technical aspects of solar construction, but the county would benefit from construction as well.
Occupational net profit tax.
Yes.
Revenue that would be generated up there.
And jobs for the construction.
Right.
All right, anything else we need to talk about from the grant office? Commissioners like to bring anything up or comment or discuss any of the projects?
I think, Judge, that this goes to show the people just how much money this county and this court has generated from grants. I think it's a significant amount of money, and there's a whole lot more here that's coming in the future. And I think, this court sees that grants is the way to bring money into this county and not have to tie into your budget.
I think that's a good point. This money is not money that's coming out of our local tax base. There's been no tax increases. None of this is local COVID money.
No, none of these grants, the EDA grant for Wolf Pit, none of that had nothing to do with COVID.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say that, our budget surplus, we had well before we got this round of ARPA funding. And, we talked about the CARES Act funding, really was sort of a net wash because $500,000 of that went out to small business grants from the fiscal court to help some of the businesses that were hurting. We had a lot of overtime with the solid waste crews particularly, had to reroute the system. So really, there's not a significant, increased cleaning cost, supplies. One of the big cost drivers that people didn't realize from the CARES Act money, when people want to say, well, you got this COVID money, is we no longer were able to utilize inmates on the back of garbage trucks because they couldn't go out. The Department of Corrections wouldn't allow them to come out. So essentially, we hired 10 new employees as loaders that are full-time. So we actually had to increase, because of COVID, we had to increase the expenditures on payroll. Our employment is up. Virtually everyone that had been laid off during this administration has been brought back. If they wanted to come back, they had that opportunity, by and large. But the ship is heading in the right direction, and I want to thank you all because your expertise under our direction has really paid huge dividends for the people of this county. There's a lot of money out there, but you have to know where it's at. You have to know how to get it, and you have to have the relationships. Just like when Commissioner Tackett handed, first time Commissioner Tackett ever met the Secretary of Transportation, he hands him a binder and he says, "Look at this."
You have to keep asking.
And, he hands a copy to Rocky Atkins. "Here's your copy." And as a result, we got $350,000. And that's money that doesn't have to come out of our budget. That's our job, that's our responsibility. We're gonna keep doing that.
And it shows, Judge, it shows, you look where all these projects it is, it's all over the county. It's not just, it's from Pikeville to Elkhorn to Belfry, just, it's all over. That goes to show where we're working. It doesn't matter where it's at. We're, at the end of the day, we're still all Pike County. I'll say that to the day I die, we're all Pike County.
So anyway, keep us posted. Particularly, the thing we're interested on the most is obviously the water projects, but this grant for trail development, I think that's a huge plus in terms of economic development. It's been talked about for a long time. It's happening now. And it's happening because we've been able to get the financial resources. We had the money to start doing it. But that $3 million grant would go a long way to seeing this trail system completed and interconnected to Hatfield, McCoy, and Spearhead trails.
About job creation.
Job creation.
They will give it to you if you can create jobs.
Absolutely. Thank you all very much. Garrett,
You're
anything
welcome.
that you'd
Thank
like
you.
to add, sir? Thank you. All right, we're gonna wind this down. Department Supervisors comments. Department Supervisors, Greg, anything from the bid office? Sherry, anything? Anything from the animal shelter? Paul, anything? Anything from Emergency Management, GIS? Safety Office? Finance and Solid Waste? Trail Office, Jerry, anything? Anything from Floodplain Office? Road Department?
I know everybody, I'll hurry. This won't take long, but I did forget to mention that there was a slide on Allegheny that we have not been able to, or we had not been able to start working on. I want to thank Bob and AEP because they did get the power line removed so that we can start on that in the morning. So hopefully we will have that road open back up shortly.
I'd had a few calls on that, and I told them we was working on it just as fast as we could, but.
Well, see the power line in there, we couldn't put anyone in to remove that until that power was removed, and it is removed now, correct, Bob? So we're good to start on it.
Thank you, Bob.
And we will thank Mr. Shirtliff in his AEP capacity because he was able to help expedite getting that pole and that line removed so we can get the road open back up on Allegheny. So thanks for letting us know that, buddy. All right, anything from personnel? Anything from the county attorney's office, Colonel?
Have it under order, Judge.
That's why, Colonel, you're there. Judge Hickman, anything? Commissioner Tackett, anything, sir?
Judge, I just want to thank these guys, how they've been working, like I said, it's every court meeting, I do thank our employees, and I want to continue tonight, just think of what they do. We do have a employee needs a little prayer. I think he's been a little sick there. He's in the hospital. He's a Pike County employee. Just other than that, that's all.
All right, Commissioner Robertson. Commissioner Booth.
Judge, our employees are doing a good job getting roads back together for us, slow but surely getting there. And I think it, from seeing these grants and sitting here tonight going through these grants, I think, Judge, it just shows that we are working really hard to get grants to improve our county so we don't have to spend our budget and help save the people of this county some money to where we don't have to raise taxes. And I just think that if we just continue going forward with these grant writers we have 2 outstanding grant writers that we can even save this county a lot more money in the near future. That's all I've got, Judge.
Thank you, sir. I don't think I have anything else to add. That being said, is there any other business to come before the court? A relatively short meeting by our standards. So at this time, I'd like to ask Gary Sloan if he would say the benediction. If there's no other business after that, we'll obtain or entertain a motion to adjourn.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Father God, we thank you for your divine guidance for this body, Father God, as they make decisions for the people of this county. Father God, now we lift those in the Ukraine up to you, Father God, that you just give them protection right now, Father God, as only you can give. God, we thank you for all the blessings you bestow upon each and every one of us. Father God, now as we leave this place, we know you will go with us. In Jesus' name we pray, we ask. Amen.
Amen. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Tackett. Second by Commissioner Robertson. I thought you were trying to, oh, was it Booth? I couldn't hear who it was. Commissioner Tackett was over here trying to take my job from me. All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Tackett, second by Commissioner Booth. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Robinson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tackett,
Yes.
Commissioner Booth,
Yes.
Judge Jones.
We are adjourned.